What is up, YouTube? This is Nanashi here with a brand new video. Today I'm here to talk about the brand new ban list we were just given. As it happens, I just happened to be in my local card shop, hanging out, playing cards, and working on new videos, and then I happened to spot the ban list. Everybody was going nuts about it, and because of the small changes that they made to this ban list, I ended up having to throw away a bunch of the deck projects I was working on. So let me show you what happened. Starting with the 3 cards that were completely banned, we have Samsara Lotus. Never really saw this card much in play. I heard it had something to do with some kind of OTK combo. I wasn't really sure about it. But anything that enables an easy OTK is perfectly fine by me to get hit on the ban list. Now, MX Saber Invoker is much easier to understand. It was used in Go Keys as well as 6 Sams, and it was just a really powerful card. Now, Nightmare Goblin? I'm pretty sure everyone saw this coming. It was either going to be him or possibly one of the other easy links. But him makes more sense because he enables an extra double summon and can be used in almost any deck that can spare a few spare materials. As far as the one that I'm running in my Spirit deck, I'm just going to replace it with a copy of Proxy Dragon, so I'm not really going to miss it very much, though that extra normal summon was kind of helpful. Now, 10 different cards went to 1 on this list. First up is A Assault Core. We all know this card is one of the most powerful members of the ABC variety. While its effect to add from the graveyard to the hand isn't really that special, the fact that it had such a high attack point is more than likely the reason they picked it out of the other 2. And above all else, I am absolutely thrilled to finally see Elemental Hero Stratos come off the list, even if it's just to 1. This card has been banned for years, and now we can finally play it again in hero decks. And as far as I'm aware, they didn't errata any of his effects, so that means he's back at 1 and at full power, in a sense. Now, Morphing Jar coming off the list at 1? This one confuses me a bit. I mean, it has a good effect. You flip it, both players drop their hands and draw 5 cards, but I would assume that Konami would want to stay away from cards that actually burn through the hand faster, such as the case with Trick Stars. But maybe this is a means for them to try and get people to pay more attention to the Danger archetype that they're trying to sell hard. Now, Sideframe Lord Omega going to 1, this one made me laugh so hard. I despise multiple Omegas running around in the game, getting rid of my hand permanently, or even just temporarily, preventing me from being able to play. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight coming back to 1, that one frightens me slightly. Even though most people only really ran or needed 1 in the first place, seeing it kinda terrified me because it was an easy way to break boards and it was relatively easy to summon. It was basically a good board-breaking generic. And now that it's back at 1, I feel like I should be more cautious about how I play my decks. Heavy Metal Foes Electromite, though. I think a lot of us saw this one coming too. I was expecting it to either go to 0 or 1 myself, but 1's perfectly fine. A Hero Lives. I think it would have been fine if it went to 2 maybe, but this does eliminate Darklaw Turbo, and it does make it a little bit more of an even playing field for Stratos to come back in, so I'm not entirely happy about it, but I'm okay with it. Card Destruction coming back to 1. Again, I get the feeling that this is more to help sell the Danger stuff, but at the same time, I am ecstatic. Card Destruction has been banned for a very long time. I've been wanting to play Card Destruction in a lot of my decks for a long time. Sky Striker Mecha Hornet Drones, I think everyone saw this one coming too. It's not that there's a huge problem with the spell per se, it just made it really easy to link stack. In addition to that, it was also searchable, and most of the decks that ran it also ran 2 to 3 of the Draw Search spell. So, it makes sense that this card went to 1. It's not going to be that much of a problem. Now, Super Polymerization going to 1. I am cautiously terrified of this. Super Poly was banned for a very good reason, and I can only guess it's because of the incoming fusion archetypes that we have, but hopefully it does not end up being as much of a problem as it used to be. That's all I can really say. Now, 5 cards went back to 2, first off being Cosmo Dark Destroyer. The guy's been at 1 for a little while. The game's sped up enough to where he's not well, not necessarily irrelevant, just nowhere near as much of a problem as he used to be. We have plenty of means of eliminating him that doesn't require targeting, and we can even work around his replacement summoning, so I think this is fine. Called by the Grave going to 2, I'm okay with this as well. I was really hoping that it wouldn't be called to the Grave, purely because it was the best answer that a lot of people had to hand traps. Limiter removal going to 2? I'm okay with this. We've had Honest at 3 now, and it hasn't been doing very much, so I can't imagine limiter removal doing much, except possibly in Cyber Dragons. That's the only reason I'm scared, but I'm fine with it. Scapegoat going to 2 makes me happy. I run Scapegoat in a couple of decks myself, so obviously I'm a little bit upset about it, but I can live with it being at 2. Being at 3 made it way too easy for decks to use link spamming methods. Terraforming at 2, however, does upset me a little. I run Terraforming in a lot of my decks, although normally I'd run it at 2. There's a couple that I run it in at 3, namely Fire Kings and Dinosaurs, but I'm okay with that card going to 2. If it really becomes an issue to where I need the field spell more often than what 2 Terraforming will allow, I'll just put in Metaverse. And finally, we have the cards that completely came off the ban list and are now at 3. Apocalyport Towers. I remember how Towers and the entire Kleeport system were a complete nuisance and a huge problem. I mean, sure, the game's evolved and sped through this, and given that Pendulum archetypes kinda took a major hit off of Electromite also going to 1, I shouldn't be as afraid as I am, but if anybody out there is familiar with the concept of Vietnam War flashbacks in Yu-Gi-Oh, you know what I'm talking about. Destiny Hero Disc Commander coming back to 3 makes perfect sense, especially with its errata that makes its draw effect a once per duel ability, and being unable to special summon it from the graveyard during the turn it went there in the first place, so perfectly fine, no complaints. Burial from a Different Dimension is no problem either. Very few decks really banish high numbers of monsters anymore. With this card coming back to 3 isn't too much of a complaint for me either. In fact, I might start putting it in some of my decks that banish a lot, like zombies. And finally, Ring of Destruction coming to 3. This pisses me off. Ring of Destruction isn't a majorly problematic card, especially if it doesn't come up a lot, but I've been dealing with Burn Lords for a while, and I'm kinda getting pissed off at them. Now that this card's at 3, it's gonna be even easier for them to play around my stuff. And that's my opinion on the ban list. Not too many big problems with it, just a couple of small nitpicks more than anything. And an extremely happy opinion towards seeing card destruction come back. Terraforming going to 2 also catches my attention, as well as Scapegoat for a couple of decks, so I'll be fiddling with some of my recipes in some small ways, and hopefully this will all be a change for the better. I thank you guys for watching the video, and if you have any opinions regarding the ban list that you want to discuss, feel free to let me know. In the meantime, this has been Nanashi, signing out.